Hello and welcome back to my allotment on this beautiful February day. The sun is shining, it's about 14 degrees, which is completely unheard of for this time of year in Britain. So I'm making the most of it. I've got a lot of jobs to be getting on with today, so I thought I'd show you some of the things that you can be doing in your garden or your allotment at home in February. Now, one of the first jobs that I'll be doing today is pruning my apple tree. Now, it's always a good time to prune your apple tree before the sap starts to rise around sort of March time. I remember the first time that I was pruning my apple tree and I was a bit daunted about it, not knowing what to prune, where to prune, but there are a few general rules that you can apply. So the first thing you want to do is remove any wood that is either diseased, dying, crossing branches, or anything that just looks like it's going in the wrong direction. My tree is generally in a pretty good shape, so I'll just be doing some maintenance pruning to remove some extra long growth or anything that's growing too high, because if the branches are too tall for me to reach the apples, then there's no point in it growing that tall, because it's just going to be wasted energy and wasted fruit that's just going to drop and rot on the ground. Just a couple of extra tips when you're pruning your apple and pear trees. Make sure that your tools are super sharp and clean, because if they're not sharp enough, you'll actually crush the stems rather than cutting them, which risks disease and all kinds of infections from getting into your tree, which you really want to try and prevent as much as possible. As you're pruning your tree, it's a good idea to take breaks every now and then to step back and have a look at your work, because it can be quite easy to fall into the trap of over pruning, because you get carried away underneath the branches and you're not actually looking at the bigger picture. So here's how my apple tree looks now, and it's a lot less spindly, a lot more horizontal growth rather than vertical growth, a nice open centre. And yeah, it's looking pretty healthy, and I know I'm still going to get a lot of apples this year. It averages usually around 25 kilograms of apples that I get off this tree. So yeah, it's a very productive little dwarf Egremont russet. My next job is all the way up there. Now is a good time to finish off any of your hedge pruning that you've got left to do. So if you can see all the spindly growth at the top there, I need to cut all that back so it's nice and level. And you want to do this before March really, because the birds are going to start nesting soon and you don't want to disturb them. So I'll be trimming all of my hedges right back. It's going to be a big job, so I'm going to get all my tools ready and crack on. If you haven't already spread manure over your allotment, now is a very good time to do so. And I'm mulching my rhubarb crowns with some well-rotted horse manure. And you don't want to get it too close to the crown of the plant, otherwise it could rot the actual crown itself. But I'm just applying a thick layer all around the plants to give it plenty of nitrogen to feed it throughout the year, because rhubarb plants are very hungry and thirsty plants. I've also manured all of my garlic and some of the other beds behind me. Just remember, don't put any manure on your carrot bed, because they don't like too much nitrogen, and if you give it to them, they will fork into some rather crazy shapes. It's also a good time of the year to prune any currant bushes that you have, including red currant, black currant and gooseberries as well. And I'm here pruning my black currant bush to a nice goblet shape, removing some of the old wood to make room for lots of fresh new growth. Well, I'm done pruning for now. I've still got quite a few of the hedges to do because they're quite tall around here, but after it whipped me in the eye, and I didn't realise I had black makeup all around my face just earlier. I'll be coming back to that another time. So I'm in the polytunnel now, and I've just sown a bunch of sweet peas. And even though it's not really the time of year to be sowing much, you can start off your sweet peas, tomatoes in a couple of weeks, chilies I've already got started at home in a heated propagator. And what else? Oh yeah, I've put my shallots in these little compartments because I'll be planting these, well, I'm not quite sure where yet, so this is just to give me a bit of a head start and to buy me some time. Well, that's all we've got time for today. I hope you've enjoyed my little tips for February. I hope you're having a good month on your garden or in your allotment. Unless you're somewhere in America or Canada and you're under a foot of snow, I'm really sorry. I hope spring comes to you guys soon. It's the end of a very productive day here on the allotment. I've got a job done that's been bugging me for some time, and I thought, you know, it's towards the end of the month and it's about time I gave you guys a tour around the allotment. And I was looking back through my journal the other day, which is going pretty well, and I'm keeping track of the weather day by day, the temperatures and just generally what it was like, whether it was cloudy, sunny, that kind of thing. And at the start of the month it was really cold. We had a few cold nights, that -6 that I mentioned in my previous video, and now I'm in short sleeve t-shirt and it was 14 degrees today. It's just really strange. I can't help but wonder what that means for our summer. You know, does an early spring, if this is it, mean a wet, cold summer? I'm not so sure. We'll have to see. Anyway, let's head up to the gate and I'll give you a tour around the allotment because there's a few new things to see. I do still have my Christmas wreath on the gate. I keep thinking I should try and make like a spring version of it somehow. But yeah, for now it's still there. Here we are, end of February, and there's an ice cream van. One of the things I've been doing this week is actually tidying up this border here because all of my spring bulbs are coming up. Down here I've got some tulips and even the bluebells. These are the bluebells that are coming up. These are actually covered by something, which is why they're a bit yellow, but they'll be green soon. I'm actually thinking of perhaps putting some roses down here and removing some of the shrubs. I do have some roses on my neighbour's side and I just really love it when they're in bloom, so this border might be changed later on in the year a little bit, just mixing it up. My tiny little daffodils are in bloom and it's just a joy to see this such bright, cheerful yellow colour. And look, I've even got some primroses in here too, and these just randomly appear. It's great. They've just self-seeded from somewhere, or maybe a bird has dropped it in its droppings, but they just keep popping up all over the place. Oh yeah, under the plum tree at the moment I've got this gooseberry that I've just dug out. These things are absolutely lethal, so if you know you've got a gooseberry and you want to move it, just be careful because they're covered in these really sharp spines. The garlic is just looking amazing. All of them have shut up and I recently put down some manure, so they're going to feed on that nitrogen, which will help with their green growth. Perhaps the biggest change this month is a job I just completed today, and it's my strawberry beds, and they look so tidy. So I spent all of today pulling out all the weeds, and I actually ended up digging out all the plants as well, and there was a lot of bindweed in there, so I had to pull all that out as well. Then I laid down some manure and then I put the plants back in the ground. So I'll be watering these in shortly. I've done 2 beds so far and I still have the third triangle, the third square there at the back to complete at some point. The black currant bush had its prune and it's got lots of buds on it. Oh yeah, I don't think I told you guys, but I bought some cheap garlic and I didn't have any room in that bed, so I just chucked it under here. I've got garlic kind of dotted here, there and everywhere on my allotment this year. Under the apple tree you can see the crocus bulbs have all come up and the apple tree is looking rather nice now that it's had its prune. I've got a few daffodils that have come up, but if you can see down here, I've got some holes. So either a rat, a squirrel, or a magpie has been along and dug up some of my bulbs, which I'm really not too happy about, but it does happen every year, and I can't cover this size of area. And I've got some crocuses and some tulips in this pot here. This is one of my favourite hellebores. I just love the petticoat petals on this flower. I think it's just gorgeous. Following the path round, I've got some alliums poking up as well, and these are the big purple ball gigantea, and there's another one down there as well, but it's still looking quite green. Needs a little bit of a tidy up. Oh, and next to the shed is I need to tidy that area at some point. It's mostly canes and pots still. The shed, we're not going to go into the shed because it's quite a mess, but I'm going to tidy that up soon as well. So here's the view from this side. Now, under the netting on my carrot bed, this is where I planted some tulips, and they're coming up, but this is to prevent that bird or that rat, squirrel, from digging up the bulbs, because they did have a go at it, but this is actually doing well to prevent that happening. The green manure, my field beans, these are really starting to bulk up now, and they'll probably be chopped up in the next month or two, I say, and loosely sort of forked into the soil to feed it with lots of nutrients. One of my big pots is looking a little bit untidy. I've actually been going through the grass, look, and at this time of year it's good just to run your fingers through it and pull all of the dead stuff out so you can make way for some fresh new growth. My Peak District corner is looking nice and green and purpley at the moment. These evergreen ferns just look fab. I don't think they've actually lost any of their leaves over the winter, and they're quite sheltered in this corner. So I've got some heather in there, and I've also got these hellebores, which I did plan to put in my woodland area, which is why they're still in their pots. But the thing with hellebores is that they don't really like to be transplanted, so once you plant them, you're best off leaving them there, otherwise they might not bloom. But I just love this dusky purple colour, and this variety is called Harvington Dusky. I quite like them where they are. With the heather, I think that really works. So perhaps I should just plant them there. Moving along, as you can see, I've got some daffodils that have come up, and the tulips will be on their way up as well soon. As you can see, I've got some more field beans. They're doing fine. Let's have a very brief look in the polytunnel. It's a bit of a mess. It's sort of a storage dumping ground at the moment, keeping all my furniture in. The sweet peas haven't yet sprouted, but I don't think it will be too long until they do. And my shallots have rooted, and they're actually pushing themselves out of the pots. So I should get them in the ground in Zorans when I've dug some of the ground over. This honesty is looking great. I should probably pot this up a bit, maybe give it a week feed. Since I sowed the seed in autumn, this compost is probably a bit dead now. There won't be many nutrients in it. I do have a big pile of manure to spread in the polytunnel once I've actually cleared it out. So here's the allotment at the end of February. And I've covered over my raised bed here because of the bulbs again. Well, that's it for another episode. Thank you so much for joining me here on my allotment. I just want to say a really big thank you for all your support, because I love hearing from you guys in the comments, like what you're up to around the world. And I recently hit 5,000 subscribers, which is mind-blowing because I've only been doing this on YouTube for about a year. And I just love being a part of this gardening community that we have online. It's just really nice. So as we go into March, we're going into one of the busiest months here for sowing seeds. and I've also got Zoran's plot to prepare over there, so there's lots to be doing and lots to look forward to. I really hope that you're enjoying some signs of early spring wherever you are in the world. Perhaps there are a few flowers in bloom. I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Take care.